Hello, everyone. I believe we'll get started in a brief minute. So, just for anyone out there in the foyer, a little call out to you guys, and we will begin momentarily. So, I will be back in about a minute or two as everyone gets settled. Hello, everyone. I got my cue that we are ready to start. Give me 1 second. Wel dantel bejidayo, wel dantel mawida. Delwisi aren't prosper, wedebek si wegustonic, gadua age, wigi nige, jibukduk, elogwe age. Nova Scotia Health, Indigenous Health Consultant. Nutjewig Floyd Donna Prosper, Lewib Negmo Essonic, Niska Mijarnugumij, Deluisid Wilford up Bessie Prosper, Lewib Negmo Bodlodek is 1943 Gadua Age, Wigijig Nige Wegustonic. Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Prosper. I'm from the Eskizoni First Nation, and I'm happy to be your MC for the day. So introducing myself, again, I come from Eskizoni, but I now live in Halifax, well, specifically Dartmouth, so here in Jibuktuk. I still say Jibuktuk because that word is actually not in reference to the land itself, but is actually in reference to the water. When you're on the land here on the Halifax side, there's actually an older word that's in reference to the landmass, and that's Guohamikduk. Guo meaning pine, Hamikduk is the place of Guohamikduk. And so that is the reference to the land. So I live right on the water, right by the water in Dartmouth. So I often still say that I'm from Jibuktuk or live in Jibuktuk. It's my honor and privilege. I would like to thank the organizing committee for this honor of being your MC for the day. And I hope you all enjoy your evening as we celebrate many of our award recipients in recognition of all of their work for our community, and also in recognition of Treaty Day. So in going back to my notes, a little bit of ad-libbing, a couple notes I was told, and this might have been obvious, but not on my paper, but on your paper, your agenda is double-sided. So if you look on the back side, you will see some of the names of our award recipients. Again, not double-sided on my side. How the night's going to go is we have several speakers. Thank you. Fancier paper than what I had. One thing to note, I was told that we will be live streaming this online. This is where I insert my joke for the night and say, don't pick your nose. So, because you are live. Okay, that's my only joke for the night. That being said, Gwe at this time, this is my notes to say everybody come in. So I'm going to move on from that. Jilida, which I suppose, talk about that word a little bit briefly. Jilida, it's Mi'kmaq plural for welcome, or in our word, the singular be Jilasi, comes from a Mi'kmaq word that's in reference to actually when you come into a teepee or your wigwam, it's implying to come forward. So it's a form of welcome in our language. All that being said, I would like to welcome everyone to the 36th annual Treaty Day celebrations, and Ipjidida to everyone joining us virtually tonight. While Treaty Day in Nova Scotia is typically celebrated on October 1st every year, this year an unwelcome visitor came to our province, and we all know that unwelcome visitor as Hurricane Fiona. Not to reference the Shrek that we all saw, but it's an easy way to remember. Forced the postponement of this annual celebration until tonight. But with that being said, I think us still gathering tonight and ensuring that we had this celebration is a testament to how important this day is, not only to Mi'kmaq, but to this province and many of us here within Mi'kma'ki who come every year to celebrate Treaty Day. To begin our celebration, I would like to call upon two individuals, first Michael R., who will be singing the Mi'kmaq Honor Song, and then Jada Paul, who will be singing the Canadian National Anthem. So first, in welcoming my dear friend, one of my best friends, Michael R. Denny. Michael R. Denny is from the Eskizoni First Nation and is a father of two. Michael R. serves as the Red Road Coordinator for Mi'kmaq Namadnue, where he supports the revitalization of language and culture. This evening, Michael R. will be opening this event with the Mi'kmaq Honor Song, and so at this time, I would like to ask you to please stand and also invite Jada up here to the stage. I will be introducing Jada a little bit more later in the night, but she is one of our award recipients today. So with that, I will give the mic to Michael R.
Give me that money, don't no take, nigga my stone, get my way down it. Give me that money. Don't wait a back so take, nigga much to give on a model teenage, give on a model teenage, done, kisuk deligalog, say go lasset kamo, hey, 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 oh, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, oh, hey, yeah, yeah. Hey, oh, hey, give me, give me that manage. Don't no take, nigga much to get my way down it. Give me that manage. Don't wait a back so take, nigga much to give on a model teenage, give on a model teenage, dan kisuk deligalog, sego lasit kamog, hey, 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 oh, hey, yeah. Hey, yeah, oh, hey, yeah. Hey, 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 oh, hey, yeah.
Bulalio Michael, I would like to now invite Jada Paul, and I would ask if you could remain standing as Jada performs the Canadian National Anthem.
Oh, Canada, good much ginu ginu, megik si del mule, kam la mulina, gezik sa mule, megi del mule, gizine wali. Dante Ruchki, Udma Wigel, Melki, Anque Mule, Gizu, Pulian.
Walalio Jada. So as I mentioned earlier this evening, we have several speakers and honored guests, and I would briefly like to start by recognizing those individuals. First, we have Gisamo Norman Silaboy, our Grand Chief of Sante Mawiomi, and his wife Arlene Silaboy. We have His Honor Arthur J. LeBlanc, Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia, and his wife Rose Marie. We have Mr. Jaime Batiste, Member of Parliament and Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Crown and Indigenous Relations. The Honorable Carla McFarland, Minister of Ilnu Affairs. Chief Annie Bernard Daisley, Co-Chair of the Assembly of Nova Scotia Mi'kmaq Chiefs. Elder Dr. Donald Julian, Executive Director Emeritus of the Confederacy of Mainland Mi'kmaq, and also a veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces, I believe. And Mayor Mike Savage, I don't know if I saw Mayor here. Oh, Deputy Mayor's here on the Mayor's behalf. Actually, I knew your name on top. Pamela, okay. And then G Captain or Grand Captain Andale Denny of the Mi'kmaq Grand Council. So to begin, as I'm sure all of you know, is in 1986, Donald Marshall Sr., Grand Chief of the Mi'kmaq Nation at that time, invited all Mi'kmaq to observe October 1st, 1986, and every year thereafter as Treaty Day to commemorate the unique and special partnership that exists between Mi'kmaq and His Majesty. As part of our celebrations, we gather to share, connect, celebrate, and continue the existence of our treaties, ours as not just Mi'kmaq, but in this treaty relationship between Mi'kmaq and also non-Mi'kmaq of this territory. And during our celebrations, we affirm that all Nova Scotians are treaty people, and each of us has a responsibility to acknowledge these relationships. And to me, when I think about Treaty Day, this is just my little side note, I often see it as a special opportunity to celebrate many of the good news stories, and the good news stories as it relates to, you know, the progress in treaties and the treaty relationship. Yes, there's much work to be done, but I think this, you know, this event for me as a Mi'kmaq really gives me hope to celebrate those paths that have been, you know, paid forward, to have our treaties recognized and to have them celebrated. You know, often I don't think this celebration is had in many other Mi'kmaq territories. So as a Mi'kmaq from Nova Scotia, it's really important to me. And I think one of those good news examples is the recent passing of the Mi'kmaq Languages Act, which recognized Mi'kmaq as not an official language, but the first language of this territory. And I think that's really significant wording and really something to celebrate within our province. You know, I don't necessarily know if that's been done in any other province. And so there's unique things here in Nova Scotia that we can celebrate. And when thinking about that, often I go to, when I think about language, one of my mentors and one of my heroes was the late Helen Denas. And Helen had this quote when we honored her at my high school, which was on Mi'kmaq language. And I wanted to share some of her words today in relation to Mi'kmaq language. Megudedam dantilio noti got mwanda sub elnuisot the melowage. Delaway neen, bukta elnuisi. Elnuisin na bukta elnuisi, mo ahadisio. Akina majwen gigama elnuisin, na gigawa elnuisidis. Guys, Delaways, go away, na glabas midwajish insiduto. And so what she's talking about there is the importance of the Mi'kmaq language and the importance to be proud of it, to be proud. Be proud of who you are. But also, if you know Mi'kmaq, to speak Mi'kmaq. Even in you know, the lessons that Helen would give me, you know, in my time with her, was even speak it if you know the smallest words. You know, speak it and be proud of that. And then the last bit is, you know, speak Mi'kmaq in your home. You know, I'm a firm believer, you know, some may know me from my work, whether that's in the arts with Alan Sibley and the Thundermakers, or my work in healthcare. And in the workshops that I give, one of the things I always say is that Mi'kmaq language is never going to be saved in a workshop. It's never going to be saved by me saying words up here. Where is it going to be saved? It's going to be saved in the home. And that's why I think, having legislation to support the Mi'kmaq language and to support fostering that within the home is so important. And so with that, I suppose with those words, moving on to our first speaker, it's my honor to introduce our Jisamau, Norman Silboy, to the stage to give some opening remarks. Jisamau grew up in a resilient, hardworking family where, along with a good education, the Mi'kmaq language, culture, traditions, and family values were a part of everyday life. He is the grandson of the late Grand Chief Gabriel Silboy and was named Grand Chief in Bodolodec in 2019. Jisamau is a member of the Eskizoni First Nation, also my home community. He's a father, a grandfather, and a leader of the Mi'kmaq Nation. I would like to invite Jisamau Norman Silboy, Grand Chief of the Sante Maoiomi, the Mi'kmaq Grand Council, to come and say a few opening words.
Well, what do you want? Well, that's it. But you die, I'm sit down, be moody. Arthur LeBlanc and his wife, Sister Dorothy, and the other dignitaries, Minister of Indian Affairs, and what Aaron already covered was a lot. And I thank Aaron for doing a good job. And also, I apologize. I was a little late. But yeah, we could make it up. My speech won't be that long tonight. I'll short it down. So we won't be here till 12 o'clock tonight. But I'll just overview like what Aaron always mentioned. Like because of Fiona, we had to decide to cancel Treaty Day as a celebration. Mind you, we've been canceling it since COVID started to keep everybody safe. So we tried to do it last year a little bit. Year before, total cancel. We did Zoom. That was very challenging. But today we're here, just talk about Treaty Day and the importance and award winners be recognized. I'd like to start off by also mentioning we, Grand Council, we also had challenging times as we couldn't do stuff we normally do as Grand Council, like held in our annual mission at the island of Minico, and because of safety reasons. That was challenging because the role of Grand Council is keep the faith and protect the nation. And both were hard to dodge in the middle of start of COVID. And now we're still in the middle of still in COVID, but we know a little more. And I applaud all the health leaders for protecting us and making sure everybody was keeping safe prior to the vaccinations. And I applaud them. And so going down, like, I'll have to read off what I want to say. This year, we even have to cancel Truth and Reconciliation. It was canceled. And Treaty Day, it's, I know Donald Marshall, his intent was honoring our treaties. And our treaties, I'll go back a little bit. Oral history, or what you may have, is When our ancestors wrote the treatise, they, at 1750s and between 61 and 52, they wrote them in a language in mind with our belief system, the Creator. Where the Creator, we firmly believed with the Creator that we respect all their creations. And when my grandfather went to court in 1928, when he was charged for hunting muskrat off-season, he pleaded to the court when he said, we have a signed agreement with the Queen of England allowing us to do what we were doing prior to arrival. And when the judge went over his deliberation, he told, he said, he wrote it down as what my grandfather was saying. He truly believed in what he was doing. And then when Simon Case came in 1985, he also went a little further, got a little more knowledge, and it wasn't until Donald Marshall, it was 22 years past this September that he was charged. He won his case for selling eels for and our treaties. Took it to the highest court, and he won it. We won our case. It was a big victory for our nation. So whenever I refer to our treaties, I find they're sacred. Our treaties, they're hold, I say, highest court in Canada and even higher. Why I say it's higher? Because it's part of creation. As long as the sun rises and the moon shines and the river flows, that's how, when they'll be validated until there's no more of that. And it's for generations here to come. I know in the middle of COVID, there was a lot going on, and it was very hard to try to, like, everything was happening so fast. And we needed to work closely with all our nations. So when I have to correct Aaron, I know we're thinking a little box, but Grand Council stands for all 7 districts, meaning Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, and parts of Quebec and part of Maine. As prior to Canada, we didn't have, Grand Council didn't have boundaries, they had districts. And all those were the districts of St. Wyoming. And they were officially the government of St. Wyoming over 10,000 years. I didn't wear my shirt tonight, but there's a rock by Bedford, carbon dated over 10,000 years. And I wouldn't go with, I'm scared of Sister Dorothy, religious. But just to tell you, like, that was a challenge when the news came out with the unmarked graves in Regina and at the Kamloops, and it was a lot of anger. I was called to communities to talk to them. Even in our own church in Eskizoni, the priest wanted me to address our congregation, as it was very trying for the Roman Catholic and the church. And I knew, you've seen pictures, shrines showing up at churches, step 215 little shoes. And so I've been working hard trying to help our nation heal over that. And when I had a chance to meet the Pope in Quebec, we talked Arlene had to remind. I think we only had like 4 minutes, but we were there a little more than 4 minutes. And what I told the Pope, I remind him of our Concord Act of 1610, where Grand Chief Member 2 was first baptized. He embraced the Holy Seal as Grand Chief Member 2 and his family were baptized, a total of 20 people up in Port Royal, 1610. And to cement the relationship, they did the Wampin Bolt. And there were 2 made, and one was sent to Rome, and one was here in our territory for a long time. Unfortunately, somehow it was lost. But the one in Rome is still there. So when I told the Pope that, and he smiled and nodded, because we were talking through translation. It wasn't flowing like what I'm talking about, but we still able to communicate. So when I asked him if I made this ribbon up for this occasion, if he could bless it. Hold on. To translator, he agreed, and he blessed my ribbon. And in return, he asked me for a favor from him. And when he asked, he said, the favor he wants our nation to pray for him. I didn't know at that time. I thought he was ill because there was news he wasn't feeling good. He was canceling few events. So I wasn't sure. But when I asked the elder back in our community, well, it was back in Inamagi and in Waikagama, the elder said, the Pope is asking to pray for him because he wants forgiveness. And I'm afraid that's how we forgive, is through prayers. So that's why it went pretty good. It was hot. We had Mass. I know those were the 3 hardest days I know of. And then I felt the elders, they were there. They were still strong in their faith. They were there. A lot of them were there 2 in the morning at the church just to get a seat. And those who didn't get seat, they were outside in the blazing heat. And so I was glad that a lot of our nation attended the service. But I'll rephrase a few of my grandfather's teachings. I've been saying these a lot. When he said, rich, if we are rich because I'm trying to rephrase it right. You're rich if you're healthy. And I've been toying with it, and now I'm saying our nation is rich if our nation is healthy. So that's a big statement. And I think he made that when he was Grand Chief 75 years ago. And the other thing, what I wanted to stress tonight, we would like our treaties to be acknowledged as our 7 districts. And I know working with governments and their local governments and federal governments and provincial governments, they're all broke down in territories. But we as Grand Council still are responsible for the 7 districts. So I remember Governor General inviting us to his house. He sat with us at the governor's house, and the G captain, maybe G captain would have said it, but I'm saying it now. When he asked you, or Premier, that all the premiers should be here tonight to acknowledge our treaties. And so the rest of Canada will know. And I was hoping there was talk about it when we had meetings. Prime Minister was gonna, first they said it's coming, and they said they're gonna do a video, but later on, all that didn't, somehow couldn't happen. So it's coming. Next year, maybe we'll have more of that. So I thank everybody for here. I'm looking forward to evening to go well. And if I forget anybody that works hard, and I apologize to the committee as they worked hard trying to do that treaty there, but it was a hard decision when we're still getting the after effects of Corona, because a lot of people are still without power, and it wasn't safe to have treaty there. So tonight, I welcome everyone and thank you. Hola, Leo.
Lalio Gisama, and I believe this is your phone. So moving on in our remarks, I would now like to introduce His Honor Arthur J. LeBlanc, Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia. Mr. LeBlanc is from Unama'ki with roots in West Ayrshire. His honor was installed as the 33rd Lieutenant Governor of Nova Scotia in June 28, 2017. And I think, as my ad-lib remarks, the thought I had is, the importance of also that we have a Lieutenant Governor of Acadian descent and the importance of that. And in reflecting of these treaties, one thing that should be known is that not only was this treaty a treaty between the Mi'kmaq and the English, but the Acadians had a significant role in that treaty, and one of those individuals was an Acadian himself, Pier, who was deeply involved in the translation of Mi'kmaq between Mi'kmaq and the English, and so the Acadians had a very important part. So again, wanted to recognize that significance, that we don't forget about that. Their honors have visited many events in many of our Mi'kmaq communities throughout the province. They continue to host, highlight, and celebrate Innu cultural events at Government House, as was mentioned by Gisamo. So without further ado, I would like to introduce His Honor, Mr. Arthur J. LeBlanc.
Grand Chief Sillaboy, Grand Captain Denny, Jaime Batiste, Parliamentary Secretary, and Chief Daisley, Minister McFarland, Mr. Churchill, Ms. Chender, Ms. Diab, Deputy Mayor Lovelace, Dr. Julian, and representatives from Indigenous Services Canada, distinguished guests, ladies, gentlemen, and friends. Yes, I am limited in the Mi'kmaq language, but I'll say Kwe. And I'll say, Meda Walelen. It is an honor to gather with you on the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people and what is today Nova Scotia, to celebrate a very important event, namely Treaty Day. And as the King's representative in Nova Scotia, it is a privilege to be with you tonight. C'est pour moi un honneur d'être avec vous sur le territoire traditionnel du peuple Mi'kmaq, territoire qui est aujourd'hui la Nouvelle-Écosse, pour marquer le jour anniversaire des traités. The past several weeks have been indeed challenging as we have grappled with the intense impact of Hurricane Fiona. It has been inspiring to witness your strong sense of community, generosity, and resilience, particularly in Cape Breton. And I would like to take a moment to thank the many individuals who gave their time and pivoted at a moment's notice to make tonight's celebration and award ceremony possible. Treaty Day, along with the Mi'kmaq Historic History Month, is a time to honor Mi'kmaq history, heritage, and culture that has existed for thousands of years. It is woven into the fabric of Nova Scotia and Canada, and it defines our collective identity, regardless of your personal ancestry. My people, the Acadians, came in 1604 and were welcome, not met, but welcome by Grand Chief Membertou. And they had an outstanding, phenomenal, friendly, warm relationship until the deportation in 1755, because they shared the lands. The Mi'kmaq shared their lands with them. So, as we all know, Treaty Day this year is important because it is this year that the Mi'kmaq Language Act took effect in Nova Scotia. It was proclaimed in Polydec. And this is indeed an important step in ensuring that all individuals in Nova Scotia, along with future generations, have meaningful access to language, culture, and identity as a foundation for resilience, safety, and overall well-being. It reminds us that we are indeed all treaty people, and that preserving and promoting the Mi'kmaq language is an important step in celebrating the foundational relationship that exists between the Mi'kmaq and all Canadians. This fall, we marked another historic moment together. And as we are all aware, on September 8th, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II passed away after an unparalleled 70 years reign. I was honored to gather with Grand Chief Syllaboy and Captain Denny, along with Premier Houston and members of the Executive Council, to preside over the accession proclamation ceremony, which named King Charles III as the King of Canada. Their presence and representation of the Mi'kmaq community at the ceremony reaffirmed the long-standing and ongoing connection and relationship between the Mi'kmaq and the Crown. Yes, we live in an age of unprecedented change, and through it all, I am inspired by the outstanding contributions that the Mi'kmaq people of all ages, young and old, from every region of Nova Scotia and beyond, that they make to their communities and the province as a whole. And indeed, tonight it is an honor to recognize a number of these individuals through an award ceremony. And I would like to take this opportunity of congratulating all of the recipients. Please accept my heartfelt gratitude and appreciation for your dedication and your service and your contribution, not only to your community, but to the entire province of Nova Scotia. Et nous vivons à une époque de changement sans précédent. Et dans ce contexte, je demeure inspiré, tellement inspiré par les contributions remarquables que des Mi'kmaq de tous les âges apportent à leur collectivité. Non seulement en Nouvelle-Écosse, mais partout au Canada. On Treaty Day and on all days, we celebrate your culture, Grand Chief and Grand Captain Denny, and the culture and the history and the heritage. Together, all of us, we can build and continue to build communities where all individuals are free to live with respect and dignity and peace. Patsy and I are thrilled to be here and to meet again wonderful people that we know and new people that we will meet before we leave. Thank you all for your contribution to advancing the cause. Thank you, Malaliak.
Walalio, Your Honor. Next, I would like to invite our next speaker to the microphone, Mr. Jaime Batiste, Member of Parliament for Sydney, Victoria, and the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Crown and Indigenous Relations. Jaime has served in a number of leadership positions throughout his career. To name a few examples, some of the early days of treaty education, along with the Assembly of the AFN, I know the acronym, the AFN Youth Council at one time. In 2019, Jaime was elected as the first ever Mi'kmaq into the House of Commons, and something I think to be celebrated. I know I briefly had a small stint in politics as the president of the Dalhousie Students' Union, and at the time, Jaime was considering, putting his name forward, and I remember him mentioning that, and I was so encouraged and so inspired, and I please put your name forward. I hope you do that, and I'm so glad that he did. He's definitely a leader within our community and an amazing member of Parliament. And a few other notes: he was born in Bodlodek, but is now residing in Eskazoni along with his son. He has attended almost every treaty day throughout his life, and I welcome here to deliver remarks on behalf of the federal government, Mr. Jaime Batiste.
Well, in Aaron, well, that's the way we'll know. Look now, we're going to see well, that's the way we'll know. Gives you do na way off to Prime Minister, but do well that same as a gisk at least a little new easy, still nodding. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. I just wanted to start off by acknowledging the Grand Chief. I wanted to make sure that I acknowledge the Grand Captain, also His Excellency and LeBlanc and his wife Patsy. It's really good to be here to have this great day with you and share this night with you. I know we've had to postpone it, but I'm really happy to be here and Minister McFarlane. Chief Bernard Daisley, Elder Dr. Julian, Deputy Mayor Lovelace, and all of the dignitaries and award winners here today. And I know I saw the Premier here very briefly, and I was glad that he could make it, as well as I see Zach Churchill, and I thought I saw the leader of the NDP, Chandler, as well. Really happy that we're all here celebrating this evening. And I have to start off and just kind of reflect on what Aaron had just said. And I can't remember many treaty days where I wasn't here looking up or looking when it was in the legislature, looking at Grand Captain Alec Denny as he gave so many speeches. And I listened intently, listening every time to his words and just the amazing speaker he was. And being able to be here and as a teenager watching him give that speech and then thinking to myself, maybe someday I'll get the honor and privilege of being up here and giving a speech on this in the same frame, in the same form as he did is truly one of the greatest honors of my life. And I just can't help but think of what he would have thought, knowing that I'd be up here speaking as the young child that grew up next to him, that he cut his hair and all of these things, and just thinking about him right now, but also the fact that I'm here representing the federal government, which is new in itself as the first Mi'kmaq to be able to be the member of parliament, to get up here and to be the parliamentary secretary for the newly introduced Crown and Indigenous Relations. It's indeed an honor to be able to give speech on behalf of the government of Canada. And if I would have thought about what he would have thought seeing a Mi'kmaq MP speaking the Mi'kmaq language on Treaty Day, acknowledging the Grand Chief's words and the Grand Captain's words, but also looking around and seeing two Mi'kmaq senators as well, who've been so instrumental in making sure that we've done everything that we can to introduce legislation to protect the Indigenous language, to advance the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People Act, which he brought to the United Nations in the 80s, as well as a National Day for Truth and Reconciliation that we celebrate on September 30th, the day before we celebrate Treaty Day. And I know some Mi'kmaq go to Vegas on this time because they got 2 days of vacation times, and they're appreciating the back-to-back holidays in the Mi'kmaq Nation, I know. But just to think about how much we've achieved and to see what the province has done, not just to sit up here and say we're all treaty people, but to actually have one of the best practices in Canada in Nova Scotia as we look at treaty education in Nova Scotia, not just our leaders saying that we're celebrating the treaty, but actively doing everything that we can to teach the next generation about those treaties. It's something amazing. And not to mention just the accomplishments we've seen over the past year with the new Indigenous Governor General, and that further cements the importance of our relationship with the Crown, our relationship with the treaties, our relation as Indigenous people with that government. To see an Indigenous Governor General is amazing. But also, over the past 2 months, we saw one of the things that have been called upon by Indigenous lawyers from the bar associations for the last 30 years, was to have the first ever Indigenous Supreme Court justice in Michelle Mbasowin, which I was extremely proud to be there for her inaugural day. And when she started her talk and said, Kwe, Deliwizinin, and just knowing that she is an Abenaki woman who shares this very same peace and friendship treaties that we have as the Mi'kmaq, and that she is our Indigenous Supreme Court of Justice, I can't help but think about all the hope that I have. And as I watched Alec Denny give these speeches when I was a teenager, now I'm bringing my son to make sure that he's here and seeing the same discussion. And I'm over there, Lena. I thank you for showing up, my colleague from Halifax West. And I just want to say how proud I am. And when I hear Aaron talking about the hope that we've begun to create, it's an amazing thing. And I see that the youth are getting awards. And I think about, the things that Jada Paul and Dee Dee Austin are doing. And I can't help but have such great hope for what the next 20 years of the Mi'kmaq Nation will bring. Whew. So. And so with that, I'll get to my remarks. But today is Treaty Day, and it's an important day that we celebrate, that we acknowledge. As the Grand Chief talked about, this has been a long, hard battle for the Mi'kmaq Grand Council and for the Mi'kmaq chiefs to make sure that we're here, and that all levels of government have come together to acknowledge these treaties. And one of the greatest things about these treaties is that they're the building blocks for Canada. They're the building blocks of how we move forward in the country. They've been recognized now 3 times at the Supreme Court of Canada. And they keep getting stronger over the years, and we keep getting education over the years. And it's great that the treaty relations have established these relationships over the years, and that we must collectively work together to build upon and continue to strengthen our relationship. And as the Parliamentary Secretary to Minister Miller on Crown Indigenous Relations, I'll continue to do everything I can to honor our treaties, to educate about our treaties, and to look forward to serving in the coming months and years. And, we've said that we've come a long way as Mi'kmaq. We've come a long way in this province, but we still have a lot of work to do. And I'm proud as a member of Parliament and a representative of the federal government to say I'm honored to be working with you to advance this cause, not against you. And And I understand that it's an important journey that we almost take, and it's very important that we acknowledge that we are all treaty people in Canada, and that we're all bounded by these treaties, and we have a lot of work to do, and I look forward to doing it with you. Olalio.
Walalio Jaime. As I watch each of the speakers, I think about one of the most important jobs I had was to tell everybody about the water here, but I forgot to mention that. So now we're halfway through, I suppose, so now I will mention that there is water here for any of the speakers, so you do not have to bring any of your water. Now, this one's mine, so that we know it says Esca, and that is short for Escazoni, so we know it's we know it's mine. Just kidding. We'll move on. Our next speaker is the Honorable Carla McFarlane, Minister of Ulnu Affairs. Minister McFarlane was born and raised in Pictou and serves as a provincial MLA for Pictou West. She is also Minister of Community Services and is the Minister responsible for the Nova Scotia Advisory Council on the Status of Women. Keeping with the theme of first, Minister McFarlane is the first woman to be named the Minister of Ulnu Affairs. And I wanted to sort of highlight the importance of that title, Ulnu Affairs, because us Ulnu, that's how we refer to ourselves. Often we are called, Mi'kmaq, but in our language, we refer to ourselves as Ulnu. And one time, in speaking of the significance of that word, a really important person when it comes to our treaties is Joe B. Marshall. And Joe B. had a speech one time when I was in high school, and it was very short. It was the shortest speech I ever heard. And he said this to all of us youth. He said, you'll never understand who you truly are until you know the difference between Mi'kmaq and Ulnu, and that sat with me for forever. And I was like, what? Why did he say that? And so, as I've grown, I've begun to understand that, and that is that the word Mi'kmaq comes from the word Nigama, which means my family. And I suppose it's in reference, it's a plural of that word, meaning, my families or my many families, and it's almost a description of the people I live with. But it doesn't necessarily describe the people themselves. Ulnu means the people, and it comes from the Mi'kmaq word for my tongue, nilnu. So what makes the people? It's what comes off of your tongue. And so the importance of that word, Ministry of Ulnu Affairs, that is who we are, and that's how we refer to ourselves. So with that, the minister leads the province's partnerships in treaty education throughout Nova Scotia, as well as the ministry's actions when it comes to calls to justice for missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and LGBTQ2A+, or when it comes to calls to action for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. This year, Minister McFarlane championed the Mi'kmaq Languages Act through the Nova Scotia Legislature. As I mentioned earlier, the importance of this act, recognizing Mi'kmaq language, or Ulnuisudi, not as an official language, but the first language of Nova Scotia. And with that, I would like to introduce Minister McFarlane.
Thank you very much, Aaron. I'm just sitting here thinking, what a great MC you are. I love your comments. It's like a history lesson, and you should put your name forward. Good evening. Welcome, Grand Chief Silvoy, your honors, Mr. and Mrs. LeBlanc, and Mr. Baptiste, and your son. It's so nice to have him here this evening. And Grand Captain Denny and his wife, as well as Chief Bernard Daisley, who I'm sitting beside and always enjoy her company. Elder Dr. Julian, pleasure to meet you. and as well as Elder Sister Dorothy Moore, who actually, I'm reading your book right now, so it's really ironic that you're here this evening. A Journey of Love and Hope. It's wonderful, so I can't wait to meet you. As well as Deputy Mayor Pam Lovelace, nice to see you, and as well as just all elders and recipients and guests and friends. And I do realize that we had a number of colleagues here. I'm not sure if the leader of the official opposition, Zach Churchill, is still here or not, as well as Claudia Chender. I know that Premier Houston was here earlier mingling, so if I'm missing anyone, my apologies, and as well as MP Lena Diab. Nice to see you. Haven't seen you in a few years. So colleagues and guests and friends. Gwe, May Del Odio, I would like to welcome everyone here this evening and to those joining us virtually, Ipjil Aussie. I'm going to try, Aaron, I promise. What a perfect evening to gather. Neen Deluisi, Carla McFarlane, and I am the Minister for the Office of New Affairs. And this is my second Treaty Day as Minister, and I can tell you that it's been a wonderful year, and there's been a lot of meaningful events, and I've learned so much, and I'm just excited to keep going. It's a pleasure, of course, to join all of you this evening to celebrate Treaty Day. October is the month that we do give thanks to our bountiful harvests and for friends and families. And I'm thankful to the Mi'kmaq community for our continued treaty relationship, for we all certainly benefit from the peace and friendship treaties. This year, a shared vision and decision was made to postpone celebrations due to the continuing impacts of Hurricane Fiona. And while Hurricane Fiona may have delayed our celebration of Treaty Day earlier this month, I am thankful for this opportunity to gather here with you this evening. Many people and communities in Nova Scotia continue to recover from the hurricane, and our thoughts are with them tonight. I want to express my immense gratitude for all the caring and sharing that took place within and between communities impacted by Hurricane Fiona. Whether it was delivering generators from one community to another, setting up comfort stations for those without power, or feeding the workers who were cleaning up and restoring electricity. The entire province truly rallied together to help one another out. While this year's Treaty Day celebrations were delayed, the hard work and commitment from the Treaty Day Committee ensured that we would have the opportunity to get together. I appreciate all the effort committee members made to rearrange the celebrations on such short notice. So thank you to all of you. Walalio, let's give them a hand for putting this together this evening. Treaty Day was established 36 years ago by the late Grand Chief, Donald Marshall Sr. The day was meant to recognize the signing of the treaties and commemorates the unique relationship between the Mi'kmaq and the Crown. The strength of this relationship is evident in our continued work on treaty education. This unique collaborative effort between the province and Mi'kmaq Gina is helping Nova Scotians understand our shared history and move forward in reconciliation. We can talk all we want about treaties and reconciliation, but if we don't act on them, we're not moving forward. Over the last 12 months, I have worked to strengthen relationships. I have traveled through the province, engaging with Alnug around the province. During these conversations, I continue to hear how important language is to culture and identity. One of my most gratifying and most honorable moments day in the legislature, and probably throughout my whole career and will be, was introducing the co-developed Mi'kmaq Language Act. It really was an emotional moment, and I'll never ever forget it. The legislation proclaimed in Bododek on July 17th during the Mi'kmaq Summer Games came into effect on October 1st, giving us even more reason to celebrate this Treaty Day. The Act recognizes Mi'kmaq as Nova Scotia's first language, recognizing its importance and the commitment we all need to preserve, promote, and protect the language. It reinforces the TRC's calls to action for governments to preserve, promote, revitalize, and protect Aboriginal languages through legislation and education. This legislation also aligns with the work we are doing collaboratively with Mi'kmaq to respond to the National Inquiry's report on missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. The calls for justice speak to ensuring meaningful access to language, culture, and identity as a foundation for resilience and for safety. I look forward to furthering the development of an action plan that will support the important work on the Mi'kmaq language in the short term and for future generations. And I sincerely mean that, whether I'm in this position or not. Traditionally, Treaty Day kicks off Mi'kmaq History Month in October. This year's theme is Mi'kmaq beadwork and the art of beading. Throughout the month, we are focused on the cultural importance of this traditional art form, while also highlighting the skill and dedication of artisans who create beautiful works and share their talents and knowledge. And let me end tonight by acknowledging the contributions of Mi'kmaq community members who continue to invigorate and inspire all Nova Scotians. I congratulate the Mi'kmaq elders, youth, and community members who are receiving Treaty Day awards and scholarships tonight. This distinction is deserved, and I know your family, friends, myself, community members are also very proud of you and all your contributions and achievements. I would like to again thank all of you for being here and joining in the celebration. By coming together, we are connected to the past and the present, building meaningful relationships based on cooperation, understanding, and respect. Thank you so much. Walalio.
Walalio, Minister McFarlane. Wanted to make a side note. We do have hand food. I call it hand food, hors d'oeuvres. I suppose that's the appropriate term. Out there in the foyer, as the night progresses, you are all welcome to help yourself to whatever is out there as the speakers come in and out. And because we do have probably about another hour or so. So next, I would like to introduce Sahamausk Annie Bernard Daisley to the stage. Sahamausk is chief of her home community, Wegorma. Big round of applause. Sahamausk Bernard Daisley is a mother of three, a daughter, auntie, friend, band council member, and past president of the Nova Scotia Native Women's Association. And the note I wanted to make here is that I believe the Nova Scotia Native Women's Association will soon have its own home. I believe so. You know, Chief Bernard Daisley is a significant advocate for our Mi'kmaq women here in Nova Scotia, not only in her community, but all Mi'kmaq throughout Nova Scotia. And it's because of her advocacy and people like her who work for our Mi'kmaq women as to why we have things like the new soon-to-be home for the Nova Scotia Native Women's Association. As mentioned, Chief Annie is a strong advocate for Mi'kmaq, both locally, provincially, and federally, and she also serves as co-chair of the Assembly of Nova Scotia Mi'kmaq Chiefs. I would like to introduce Chief Bernard Daisley.
Hi, everyone. I kind of know why everybody's getting dry up here. Wow, it's so bright. So I'm going to make up for Grand Chief's short speech because I wrote a book. Actually, what I do is when I get a speech, I have a bad habit of tearing the speech apart and writing my own. So, anyways, wali walang, wal dasi dan bejidayo, ag wel dasi dan aim. Televisinin, Annie Bernard Daisley, ag wejibixi wego mam. It's a beautiful night. I'm honored you are all here. And I am also very proud to be with you as well. Before I start my speech, I want to say, Aaron, I don't think in my life I've heard such a very well-spoken young person. You are making everybody in this room extremely proud of our future and who we look to as leaders. Good job, Aaron. Yeah. So good evening, everyone. I have to move this a little bit down. As co-chair of the Assembly of Nova Scotia Chiefs, I am honored to represent my fellow chiefs at this year's Treaty Day ceremony. I am very honored to welcome and acknowledge G. Sagmao Norman and his wife Arlene, G. Captain Undley and his wife Patty, and the list goes on. So Arthur and his wife, I've met you before, and you're both such beautiful people. Sister Dorothy Moore, I know just about everybody in this room. Jaime, Carla, Don. I don't want to keep going on because I'm not going to stop until I name everybody. So I'm just going to keep going. To our elders, our youth, our community members, ministers, and to the members of the federal and provincial government in attendance this evening, welcome. Typically, we celebrate Treaty Day on October 1st. However, this year, Hurricane Fiona forced us to create alternative plans. Hurricane Fiona also brought us other things, camaraderie, togetherness, and showed us our resilience, our strength as Nova Scotians and as Mi'kmaq. We helped each other. We made sure that everyone was okay. Our needs, our essential services were met. We, as Mi'kmaq, we, as Nova Scotians, helped one another. Although Hurricane Fiona forced us to postpone this very important event, let's remember that the month of October is Mi'kmaq History Month. As well, that as Mi'kmaq, every day is a day to reflect, to teach, to learn, to create change, to build relations with each other and within our nation. In a nation with over 15,000 people in Nova Scotia and more across Mi'kma'ki, we all have incredible and wonderful elders and youth who are doing beautiful things, not only for their community, but for our entire nation. Tonight, we are honoring those who were nominated as extraordinary leaders in their own right. Our elders continue to be the thread that holds the Mi'kmaq Nation together. Their truth, their stories, their knowledge, their wisdom, their experiences are what has kept us who we are as Mi'kmaq, true to our identity. Congratulations to the 3 elders being recognized officially tonight. On behalf of the Chiefs of Nova Scotia, I want to thank each and every one of you for your role in helping to keep our rich history alive. You have shown an incredible amount of dedication to your community and to our entire nation. Through your cultural teachings, language lessons, storytelling, and art. To Danny, who I met outside, Barbara and Gerald, congratulations on today's honor. You each deserve this recognition and praise from our entire nation. To the youth who are receiving awards today, to Jada and Dee Dee. Jada, I don't know where you're at, though, so there you are. You brought me to tears. You've got such a beautiful voice to us. Keep going. That was amazing. You each bring a unique set of skills to our nation. You continue to show courage in everything you do, and you are both extremely inspirational. Our youth are future leaders. You will lead our nation. You demonstrate your skills through song, dance, passion, education, political advocacy. We know you will continue to be shining stars and role models well into the future. For this year's scholarship winners, we are all incredibly proud of you. You are finding ways to push the boundaries in education, and with that, you will also pave the way for all the young Mi'kmaq learners who will follow. As you continue your education, never forget who you are and where you come from. For you are Mi'kmaq. You are proud. We are proud. Home is Mi'kma'ki. As we've been here forever, home will be yours forever. Education is so important. And being able to take that education to help our people is something that every Mi'kmaq academic thinks of doing. Continue to shine bright and know that we are watching, cheering, and rooting you on. Congratulations to all award recipients this evening. Barbara Sillaboy, Daniel Paul, Gerald Glode, Dee Dee Austin, Jada Paul, George Tex Marshall, Candace Sillaboy, Tara Mullen, Savannah Francis, Krista Hasty, Caitlin Duff. And this is from all the chiefs of Nova Scotia. You are making Mi'kma'ki proud. In closing, I want to say that when we come together with our treaty partners, it strengthens our relationship. Today's celebration and recognition of Treaty Day is another positive step. I want to thank all the Treaty Day organizers because it must have been quite the task to pull this together after Hurricane Fiona forced us to cancel October 1st. I just want to say thank you for all your hard work of all the years of dedication that you've put into the Treaty Day ceremony. Walalio, have a good night.
Walalio, Chief Bernard Daisy. Our next speaker I would like to introduce is Elder Dr. Donald Julian, who has served the Mi'kmaq community for over 40 years. After a long and distinguished career as Executive Director of the Confederacy Mainland Mi'kmaq, Elder Julian was recently named Executive Director Emeritus of the Confederacy Mainland Mi'kmaq upon his retirement this year. On behalf of everyone, I'd like to congratulate you on your retirement this year and your service, Walalio. I should also mention that Dr. Donald Julian is also a member of our Grand Council as a captain, and Elder Dr. Julian will lead us in honoring our veterans, our Smoganists. Without further ado, Elder Dr. Julian.
Koi. Jalasuk tigam sid no kama. Holda siya pegisin. Ilawis to jet veterans stick. Gajon omum sid when nenuig. As a siyaw naspi samagani away. Oh, megi dedem dan del samagani away. Kwe means hello in our language. Jalasuk tigam sid no kama. Welcome to all my family and friends. Chisakamo, Captain, Lieutenant Governor Arthur, and his wife Patsy, Sister Dorothy, Chief Ann, Minister Carla, Jaime, I'm very proud of you, my friend. Kis kugang angku de demug. Nesibung chigje asangom desibung kuga gis beji dakut chibuktuk. Bigo kiksmagnis bemi dabnig, Hildegi dabnig, St. Mary's Basilica, Mesawa City Hall. Bigo kigmoy mo dignige. Megidedem nindel gakamas yuted edlewis to jidnegamot. Today we are here to honor our 36th year of treaty celebrations. We had a few interruptions, but we're still here. We've had a lot of Mi'kmaq veterans, Army, Navy, Air Force, and all those that served in the United States, because we have no border. Our people can cross from one area to the other, serve both countries, and we are all very proud of them. During the First World War, here in Nova Scotia, we had 93 veterans that enlisted. We weren't even considered Canadian citizens at that time. We were awarded to the federal government under 9124 of the British North American Act. They really didn't want us to serve. Our brothers and sisters right across Canada, 4,000 volunteered. We lost 300. Here in Nova Scotia, 93 volunteered. We lost 10. During the Second World War, we had 126 of our men and women volunteer in the Canadian Forces. And it wasn't until 1943 that our men were allowed to join the Royal Canadian Navy and the Royal Canadian Air Force. We lost 5 people in the Second World War. One of them was assassinated just after D-Day. He was from Membertou, Charles Doucette. During the Korean conflict, 26 of our men volunteered, not being Canadian citizens. We lost 1. It wasn't until May of 1956 when the Immigration Act changed to allow Indians of Canada to become citizens of their own country. So our people bravely served first, second, and the Korean conflict, knowing that we weren't citizens of our own land. As mentioned before, the late Ron Wallace, the mayor of Halifax, invited the Grand Chief on October 1st, 1986, to celebrate Treaty Day here in Halifax. Nobody else showed up. I mean, our people showed up. MLAs, MPs, federal departments, everybody was afraid to acknowledge our treaty. It took almost 4 years later before anybody showed up. Our people showed up, Mayor Wallace showed up, and we celebrated, and we continue celebrating. Today we have a lot more people help us celebrate. So October 1st of 1986, just a year after the Supreme Court decision, I got to change my glasses. I'm getting blinder as I get older. Sorry about that. I can't help being bad eyesight. October 1st, 1986, a year after the Supreme Court of Canada handed down the decision for the late James Simon of Sebeganegadi, giving us the right to hunt under the 1752 Treaty of Peace and Friendship, which was also signed in Halifax on November 22nd, 1752, by Jean-Baptiste Cope on all our behalf. I'd like to thank the Treaty Committee, especially this year, for asking me to say a few words on behalf of the veterans who I'm very proud to represent. I've been coming here for a number of years. and I've seen the dwindling of our veterans marching from St. Mary's Basilica to City Hall. It's sad to know so many have died. But Treaty Day began, and our second and Korean War veterans marched. Today, I'm representing the peacetime veterans, as well as Mi'kmaq veterans of modern-day conflicts. We have a number of people that have served in the American forces, the Marine Corps, American Army, American Navy, American Air Force. We are very proud of our men and women that have served. We thank all our people. We thank especially the essential services here in Nova Scotia during our latest crisis of COVID in the last few years. We have to continue, from my heart, to thank the doctors, the nurses, and many special caregivers that help all our people, Mi'kmaq or non-Mi'kmaq. We want to thank all people that are and were in uniform, the police, firefighters, Coast Guard, ambulance drivers, medics, first responders, and the RCMP. Hopefully I'm not missing out too many. We also thank all the members of the Canadian Armed Forces, Army, Navy, and Air Force, and their continued service to help protect our peace here in Canada. So on behalf of the many Mi'kmaq veterans here today, and those that have gone before us and participated in the last 36 years of Treaty Day, Msid Walalio. Akam Sidud Walag Walalio. Thank you.
Walalio, Elder Dr. Julian. One thing that sort of came to mind as Dr. Julian was talking about some of our community members who serve in not just here in Canada, but in the United States. And one of the reasons why that's possible is through a treaty known as the J Treaty. And when I speak of, sometimes there's work to be done here when it comes to treaties and the recognition of treaty. That treaty essentially is not recognized here in Canada. It is recognized in the United States and is one of the reasons as to why many of our community members are able to go into the States and to not only serve but to seek work as well. And it's through that treaty. And so in the spirit of work that's needed, thought I would mention that there is a treaty that our neighbors down south recognize, but we've yet to recognize that and implement it. And so there's really a need, I think, again, for more work to be done. That being said, I would like to call upon our next speaker, Deputy Mayor Pamela Lovelace. Deputy Mayor Lovelace has served as our Deputy Minister here in the HRM since 2020. Her continued support, along with her council, in supporting our shared history has been a great benefit to Jibukduk, including last year's naming of Peace and Friendship Park, which is just down the road from here, not too far, and the new announcement of Halifax being the host city for the upcoming North American Indigenous Games, which will be the largest sporting event ever hosted here in HRM. Lots of many great things to celebrate. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Deputy Mayor Lovelace.
Thank you. Aaron, you are just super fantastic. What a great MC. So as you can tell, I'm not Mayor Mike Savage, but I am here on his behalf because he hasn't quite found a way to be in two places at the same time. So I am very honored to be here tonight, and I was asked to read the proclamation for Mi'kmaq Treaty Day. But before I do that, I just want to extend my gratitude for the wisdom tonight that was shared. I must say, I have really enjoyed listening to the Mi'kmaq language tonight, and thank you for that. I first listened and learned about the Mi'kmaq language in 1988. It was 35 years ago. And it was Elder Noel Knockwood who was holding a sunset ceremony on the North Mountain in the Annapolis Valley. As a 15-year-old kid, hey, what's that? Do I want to be up and watch the sunrise? Okay, sure, I did it. And I learned for the first time how to watch the sunrise. We also had a fire, and Elder Noel showed me that I did not know how to light a fire properly. So he taught me that, and he taught me a few words. He taught me about the culture. But a couple of weeks ago, I had the honor of being at a blanket ceremony with RCMP members here in Halifax and Department of Justice staff from Victim Services. And we worked together through this emotional experience for those who have done a blanket exercise. It was incredible to learn the history that we really need to teach in schools. And so I just wanted to say that for Mi'kmaq History Month, I have truly been honored to be the Deputy Mayor for Halifax, to learn more about the Mi'kmaq culture, traditions, the language, and just learn from you. And so when we raised the flag at City Hall for Treaty Day, obviously it was a different kind of celebration this year because we had lots of folks there, and I just want to say thank you to Cheryl. Where are you, Cheryl? Co-page Geshu. Sorry. It was wonderful to have the group of people coming together in solidarity and realizing that we are all treaty people, and that will never change. As you mentioned, as soon as the sun comes up and the moon goes down, we will always be treaty people, so thank you. I will read the proclamation. Whereas 36 years ago this month, Halifax Mayor Ron Wallace and Grand Chief Donald Marshall Sr. recognized Nova Scotia's first Treaty Day. And every year since, Nova Scotians mark Treaty Day celebrating and recognizing the rich culture and important contributions of Mi'kmaq people. It is also the 29th anniversary of Mi'kmaq History Month. Halifax Regional Municipality strives to recognize the centuries-old treaties that have created an enduring bond of respect and friendship between Nova Scotia's Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal communities. And therefore, be it resolved that I, as Deputy Mayor Pam Lovelace, on behalf of Mayor Mike Savage and Regional Council, do hereby proclaim October 1st, 2022 as Mi'kmaq Treaty Day in Halifax Regional Municipality, and further extend Council's sincere best wishes to our Mi'kmaq community as we mark this special milestone. Wilaliag.
You all are making me blush. So next, I would like to introduce our last speaker of the night, and it is my great privilege to introduce actually my neighbor back home, the G Captain of our Sante Mawiomi, Andale Denny. G Captain is from, again, my home community of Wegwistoronik. He is the son of the late Alex Denny, who was the late Grand Captain or G Captain of the Mi'kmaq Grand Council. Growing up, G. Captain and his brothers and sisters were taught the importance of the Mi'kmaq language, Mi'kmaq history, and the traditions that his father had learned from his father as a child. Bedtime stories were often filled with these stories of treaties, language, and prayers, all in Mi'kmaq. Like his father before him, G. Captain Denny stresses the importance of keeping Mi'kmaq language alive. And I know we've had a few mentions of Alex Denny, an important community member. And if you want to hear some of the speeches that Jaime was referencing, they are, I believe, available on YouTube. So there's many opportunities to learn and hear directly from this incredible man. His role as G. Captain, he serves as an advisor on political affairs, which includes treaty relationship. And every year, the G. Captain gives a public address to the Mi'kmaq community in July during what we call Sante Maoyomi, or St. Anne's Mission. G. Captain is a father and a grandfather, a proud member of our community, Eskizoni. Again, I mentioned G. Captain is my neighbor. I went to school with his daughter, Susie, and his son, Hudi, went to school with my sister, Sarah, in the immersion program. I always enjoy hearing G. Captain speak, and many of his words to me are great inspiration. Without further ado, G. Captain Andle Denny.
Good, because I agree, Lila. Well, I'll inherit, well, I'll yom sit down, little bit of the league to near guard and phone. So I watch a wish to go to Sagamau, and then Governor of David Emnin, Paddy, Mr. Doherty, Jaime, Reggie Mr. McFarlane. There's so many of you that I have to thank for being here. And that's the important part. The very first people that I want to thank are the Treaty Day Committee. All New Affairs. Just for the fact that we had so many messages, we shouldn't cancel Treaty Day. You can't let that happen. And it's very important that we take safety of every individual, and make it a priority, because it wasn't safe. So I'm really thankful to the Treaty Day Committee, Deborah, Regional Affairs, the Senate, the Governor's Office, and so forth, the province, and the city of Halifax. We know it's very important to hold Treaty Day on or around October 1st, but it's good to prepare for future hurricanes. We had Hurricane Juan one year and it was canceled. We didn't hold it for that month, so Hurricane Fiona is a little different, where at least we're holding Treaty Day ceremonies. And that's very important. I wanted to congratulate all the award winners today. It's very important to recognize our people who help not only our communities, but our nation and our allies. Very important to honor them. So, and it's also very important to have those honorees in the name of, let's say, Grand Chief Donald Marshall, that award. It's very important for our Grand Chief's family and for our nation. The same with the Chief Newell Doucette Award. Every award, the Sister Dorothy Moore Award, and we're so lucky that Sister Dorothy is still here with us. It's very important that we honor the people. And I just want to say that as Grand Captain of the Mi'kmaq Nation, we have sent out and we will send out our condolences to the Governor General on the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, our ally. No matter what history has done, we remember and know our allies. I mentioned that because during the 2010 celebrations here in Halifax, of Grand Chief Member Two's baptism, we were celebrating the 400th anniversary of that. And we had the honor of touring Queen Elizabeth and Prince Charles around, in Halifax here at the village, at the Commons. So But the interesting story was prior to us meeting her, I was invited to a meeting of the Halifax Regional Municipality, the RCMP, and the local police and the security, and they were so worried about what would go on, what would happen, how would they react, and I had to scold them, all of them. I was so appalled at the fact that they were so worried that the Mi'kmaq couldn't protect their ally. Not only her ally, but an elder. She was already in her 80s at the time. And I told them, what is wrong with you? When we would do anything to protect our ally. And that's you, our allies. You have to understand that. We have promised to take care and protect you. The most important part of protecting you is also protecting you from yourselves. And there's a difference between taking what you need to earn a livelihood and taking what you can. You look at the codfish, when you look at our resources from the Mi'kmaq perspective. We live along the Bador Lakes where we could go and fish and get our cod to feed our families for supper. We can't even do that anymore. So it's very important to understand from the Mi'kmaq perspective. I just want to thank the Lieutenant Governor and his wife Patsy for being here and for sharing their history of their knowledge, from the Acadians. But from the Lieutenant Governor's viewpoint, Mr. Lieutenant Governor, Your Excellency, I would ask you to invite Lieutenant Governors from Atlantic Canada to be here. You see, we're celebrating as Nova Scotians. This is not a Nova Scotia Treaty Day. This is a Mi'kmaq Treaty Day for the Mi'kmaq Nation. And that's something that we have to change. The Atlantic Premier should be here. We have said that for 36 years. They are still not here. But we'll get them here. It's very important. So I just wanted to convey my condolences for Queen Elizabeth and, of course, wish King Charles the best and the fact that we should have a better relationship. I've always, my daughter and I want to go to England, but we just want to go see Manchester United at soccer games. I'm a big soccer fan. I wanted to thank the province, New Affairs, and Premier Tim Houston for the Mi'kmaq Language Act. Very important for the province, for the provincial government to work on that. The important part that you don't hear about was the fact that, it was co-developed with New Affairs, their legal team, Mi'kmaq Ginamat Naway, CMM, Union of Nova Scotia Mi'kmaq, a Grand Council. We co-developed that as allies. And that's what we should have been doing since 1752. That's why we are here today. So I really thank them, but I thank those organizations. The only problem I had with it was the fact that it should have been passed by the Grand Chief and the Grand Council, not to an organization. We are a nation. We have to rebuild our nation because it's been kind of dismantled, so to speak. Grand Chief spoke about the 7 districts within Mi'kma'ki. Within Mi'kma'ki means Atlantic Canada, from Newfoundland to the Gaspé Peninsula in Quebec, to parts of Maine, New Brunswick, PEI, and Nova Scotia. It's not hard to tell you that. I know Donnie spoke of our people enlisting in wars without being Canadian. But that's just it. We're not Canadian. We're Mi'kmaq. We're the Ulnu. It's very important to understand that. It's very important to understand what Aaron said, and I'll correct him just for the fact that I want you to know that it was the Mi'kmaq Nation who recognized the United States of America when it declared their independence in 1776. We have what is called the Watertown Treaty, where we were the first nation to recognize the most powerful nation in the world today. Yet have they helped us? No. Are they going to help us? Well, we're going to look to them. No. Very important that we move forward. I want to speak a little bit about the Pope's visit and the fact that I did not go. We sent our Grand Chief, and we didn't even want to send our Grand Chief to go to Quebec because we knew what would happen. As the first Catholics, Grand Chief Membertou made an alliance with the Holy See in 1610 and became baptized. An alliance. It wasn't that Roman Catholicism was so great, but it was so close to our culture of helping one another, relying on one another, doing good for another, respecting ourselves. That's the important part. But being Catholics and having that alliance with the Holy See for over 400 years, yet the Pope can't visit us. The Pope can't come and see our people at our most sacred island in Baudelaudec, where we've had our St. Anne's Mission for over 250 years. For over 100 years, when the British wouldn't allow the French and priests to be here, it was the Grand Council who carried on the Catholic faith. So it's very important when you look at those burials, those sites of residential schools. You look at all the children and all the families. But that's what you look at, the children that we've lost, the families. You don't look at what they have done to our nation. We come from a nation whose internal combustion chamber is our language, but our oral tradition, where everything was taught to every family member. From our medicines to our sacred places, to taking what you need, which is called nedugalim in our language. When you go to hunt, gather, you take what you need. But as I mentioned, it's not to make a living where you're a multimillionaire. It's to provide for your family, for your neighbors, for those that may not have fathers, that may have rough times. That's our way, that's our culture, that is our value. It's very important. It's important that I mention that the Grand Council, as the national government of the Mi'kmaq, has to rebuild and take its proper place in Atlantic Canada, in Mi'kmaqi. We cannot stand aside anymore and look at everything that's going on. When our people are being fought, arrested, their fishing gears taken, when others are making millions of dollars. We are the poorest of the poor. We're like beggars in our own lands. And it's very important that we take our proper place here. It's not to hurt anybody, but if we don't take our proper place, there won't be any fish or lobster in the ocean. It's the truth. Look at the past. So it's important that the Mi'kmaq Grand Council takes this lead, and we are going to do it maybe a district at a time, a province at a time. I don't know how, but I'm going to ask my people how it is best to do it, because I need their help. My father went to the UN in the early part of the 80s as Grand Captain because we weren't getting the help that should have been offered to not only our chiefs, but our people in our Grand Council as the nation. We have to rebuild our nation and take our proper place. There's no other way to explain that. I explained last year when we lost a fisherman, off Shetty Camp. It was in Easter. We could not even look for him. The RCMP and the Coast Guard took a day to look for him and never looked for him again. I talk about Queen Elizabeth and the visit they had there. During that time, they had 17 countries here doing natal day exercises with warships and so forth. I almost sent 7 canoes out there just to show you that it's been only the Mi'kmaq that have not gathered any strength. When our fishermen are lost, we cannot even look for them. That's a reality. So it's very important. I want to mention that as an athlete, for the people that have invented the game of hockey, how come the Mi'kmaq nation is not recognized and be able to play at the World Championships or the Olympics? Our children, when you look at racism, every time they talk about racism in the NHL, in hockey, they bring out the black African Canadians or Americans. But they never parade around the Indigenous, the Innu. It's very important that as Mi'kmaq, our kids get the opportunity to compete at the world level. But they can't compete at the small level, major, midget, and so forth. So I thanked Chief Leroy Denny for putting a junior team in Eskisoni, where our kids are finally playing junior hockey, and other kids from other communities are enjoying playing together, enjoying playing in Eskisoni. It's very important that we do that. It's important that we take our proper place in this world. And that's all that I'm asking. It's not to hurt anyone. It's to make sure that all fishermen can fish like their forefathers have done, but to make sure that there's enough. I was raised where you can have all the money you want, but if you don't have food, you cannot eat your money. So it's very important that we play a role. Nova Scotia has been so integral because of Treaty Day celebrations, but we need the other provinces in the Atlantic to be here, the Prime Minister to be here, the Governor General to be here, and to deal with us as a nation. I mentioned that because it's very important when you look at the Mi'kmaq Language Act. We still, MK, have to send proposals to Indian Affairs. We still have to compete to get funding for our language. Every community, every organization, they need to start dealing with us as a nation. Not deal with a department, but deal with us as a nation. That's what we're here for. And we can use and utilize our people who we educated through MK, through universities and so forth. That way they have a role. When you look at language speakers, and most of them are on welfare. Yet, it should be the Mi'kmaq that helps each other and make sure that the fluent speakers are able to go to communities that are not fluent and help out and make that relationship, that friendship. That way we know each other again. I don't want to take up a little too much of your time. I know we were a little late, Aaron, and I didn't want to make the joke of we're starting on Indian time. That's the new norm on the TV, But that's just the fact that I'm so happy to be here. This is the first time I haven't really wrote a speech. I had to speak from the heart. But it's important from the Mi'kmaq perspective that we encourage and unite our families from every district, and that districts include all of Atlantic Canada. all the chiefs and them people should be here. It's very important as we move forward that we invite every chief from every community in Mi'kma'ki. And like I say, Jaime, you're not prime minister yet, but you never know. But speaking with that, I really want to thank you for listening to me for a little bit, rant a bit. But it's important that the 1752 treaty stipulates that we come here and make our submissions as to how we make a better nation. A better nation is one where everybody is getting help. I know we've had rough times with COVID. We have a war at the Ukraine, and I'm so sorry for that. If the Mi'kmaq nation was strong enough to help, we'd be there. Because it's in this time, in this day and age, that's not a necessity. It's terrible what's going on in the world. And we have to step up. So with that being said,
Walalio Gisamo, or G Captain Meske. So next we're moving on. Well, I should say, I didn't know G Captain was a Manchester United fan, and I will only say that Manchester City, my team, beat them a few weeks ago, and are a little higher on the standings. So you're a Manchester City fan. Wow, great. Aren't I? I'm happy about that. So our next part of the evening, that concludes our speakers for the night. First, I guess, big round of applause for all of our speakers. So our next portion of the program is we're going to be moving on to the annual gift exchange. As I speak about this moment, I would like to call upon our government representatives and our Mi'kmaq leaders to come onto the stage and also to remain on the stage for photos for this gift exchange. I don't have the names of who that is, but I believe all of you know who you are. Oh. So I believe all of our dignitaries who spoke, if you could please return to the stage for this gift exchange. So to explain what this is, what is this moment? So when Gisamo Donald Marshall Sr. established Treaty Day 36 years ago, he pointed to a reference in the Peace and Friendship Treaty of 1752 that spoke to the parties of the treaty coming together here in Halifax, where the treaty was signed to exchange gifts as a symbolic gesture of the renewal of friendship in our lasting treaty relationship. And I thought I would, as a point of, I suppose, education, read directly from that clause within the 1752 treaty, and it's specifically clause 6. And it's the reason why we're here today, and it's the reason why Treaty Day is on October 1st. So clause 6 of the 1752 treaty reads as follows: that to cherish a good harmony and mutual correspondence between the said Indians and this government, His Excellency Peregrine Thomas Hobson Esquire, Captain General and Governor-in-Chief in and over His Majesty's Province of Nova Scotia or Acadie, Vice Admiral of the same and Colonel of one of His Majesty's regiments of foot, hereby promises on the part of His Majesty that the said Indians shall, upon the first day of October yearly, so long as they shall continue in friendship, receive presents of blankets, tobacco, some gunpowder and shot. It is moose hunting season. And the said Indians promise once every year upon the 1st of October to come by themselves or their delegates and receive the said presents and renew their friendship and submissions. So with that, that is the significance, and that is where October 1st comes from. So with that, I would ask our dignitaries to follow with the exchanging of gifts.
Arthur LeBlanc.
So yeah, if we could move to the left for photo, please and thank you. And that concludes our exchanging of gifts. Walalio. Now we're moving on to probably one of the more special parts of the night, and that is our award presentations. I would now like to invite all of the award presenters, as well as G. Sahamau and Lieutenant Governor, to the stage to present our Treaty Day Awards. I believe on my notes I had Jocelyn Marshall and Charles Doucette. So if you could all please come to the stage, and I believe we have seats here for you as we call all of our award recipients. So as they get settled, I will begin by introducing our first award of the night. And our first presentation is the Grand Chief Donald Marshall Sr. Memorial Elder Award. In 1993, the province of Nova Scotia established the Grand Chief Donald Marshall Sr. Memorial Award, and it is this award that is presented annually to the individual or individuals for their contributions to their community over their lifetimes. So I would like to call upon Jocelyn Marshall, granddaughter of the late Grand Chief Donald Marshall Sr. and Minister McFarlane, to present the award this year to our three elder recipients. I guess a few housekeeping items for our award recipients. We'll ask if you could come up to the stage here on my right, and then after you receive your awards, to please stay on the stage, but to stay on the stage to my left, as we will have a group photo at the conclusion of presenting all of our awards. So I will call you all one by one. And the first individual I would like to call up, it is my pleasure to announce that the Grand Chief Donald Marshall Senior Memorial Award for 2022 is awarded to Barbara Denas Sillaboy, Gerald Glode, and Daniel Paul. I would first like to welcome Elder Barbara Danas Silaboy of my community, Eskazoni. Barbara is a Mi'kmaq educator from the community of Eskazoni First Nation. Barbara has dedicated most of her life to the preservation of the Mi'kmaq language. A champion, Barbara was a Mi'kmaq curriculum developer for the Eskazoni Immersion School. Barbara is also an elder of the Mi'kmaq Way DeBert Elders Advisory Council. She also is a Mi'kmaq language advisor for Mi'kmaq Ginamadnue, also known as MK. Barbara is a grandmother, Barbara is the granddaughter of the late Grand Chief Gabriel Silaboy and a mother of two and a grandmother of four. And in my notes, I wanted, these awards, especially our elder awards, for me every year, it always gives me great inspiration to look at our elders and what they've contributed to our communities in significant ways. And every year, no matter what, there's always an elder that, in my personal life I felt impacted me in a significant way. And when reflecting, on these notes and the work of Barbara, one of the things that came to mind is that I was fortunate enough to go to a Mi'kmaq Ginamadnue school in Eskazoni. My year when I went through, I guess the MK curriculum was the first year that Eskazoni established its immersion program. And I got to see firsthand, despite not going through the immersion program, I got to see firsthand many of the resources in the curriculum that was developed through MK, and more likely than not, Barbara played a significant role either in the translation of a lot of these curriculum, content, or created stories herself. And so I have fond memories of always listening, hearing stories that Barbara has greatly contributed to. And so without further ado, congratulations to Elder Barbara Danas Silaboy. I was also told that Barbara would like to say a few words in coming up here, so with that, I will give the mic to Barbara.
Would you get see up Kishkag? It's close now. Paskadoodle Eik down, Nikdo, we dig it. Negmoka, Niganali Nick, aha, Eginam Whipnick. I am truly grateful, humbled, and honored to receive this award. And I want to share it with my mentors, the language keepers who guided me and who have passed on knowledge to me. And that would be my dad, Danas Athanasius Silaboy, elders Merdina Marshall, Susie Marshall, Lillian Marshall, Rosemary Marshall, Helen Silaboy, Elizabeth Paul, and my good friend Angie Stevens, who I want to acknowledge has been language keepers and language warriors for us. And I also want to acknowledge Milos Julian and Sister Dorothy Moore, who've worked tirelessly teaching and promoting Mi'kmaq language. And I am so grateful and humbled to receive this award. Walalio.
Walalio Barbara. Jisama, I believe they asked if you could be in photos as well. So, yeah.
We want you in the photo, Shisamo.
So, So after photos, Barbara, if you could stay on the stage to the left, and we will have a larger group photo at the end. For our next award recipient, I would like to introduce to the stage Elder Gerald Glode of Millbrook First Nation. Gerald Glode Sr. is a husband, father, and grandfather, as well as a Mi'kmaq artist, educator, and storyteller from the community of Millbrook First Nation. Gerald Glode is a renowned Mi'kmaq artist who has been recognized for much of his artistic work, including his beavered nickel, which was displayed on through the Canadian Mint. He is an educator who is currently the Program Development Officer for the Mi'kmaq Way to Bird Cultural Center. Gerald started his career working as a graphic designer for the Nova Scotia Department of Natural Resources, Communications and Education branch more than 25 years ago. His stories and interpretations of the Mi'kmaq Glooskap legends have captured many, many audiences. And I have had the great fortune to serve on a committee with Gerald through Mi'kmaq Way to Bird, and I'm always incredibly inspired as a fellow artist. You know, someone, even though I don't paint or I'm not a visual artist, but personally a singer. And one of the inspirations Gerald has given me is, you know, to take inspiration from, you know, our old Mi'kmaq stories, our old Mi'kmaq songs, and to bring them back to life and to give them new life. And so, you know, I believe that Gerald's work is really a testament to that. You know, these legends, these stories, you know, yes, they were created many, many years ago, but they're still living, and we can still learn many great things from these stories. And so that to me is something that I always think about when I think about the work of Gerald. So without further ado, give it up for Gerald Glode Sr.
Thank you very much. I'll take opportunity to have my 2 cents too. And you're saying they present you this award as a knowledge holder and as a knowledge keeper, and I neither hold it or keep it. I give it away. And that's the whole idea, and that our culture has been doing for generations and for thousands of years, is getting from our elders, absorbing that and passing it on. My wife Natalie and I, for the last 43 years, it's like, you know, we've raised 2 boys of ourselves, as well as seen hundreds and hundreds of students throughout their education system, and taking them to sacred sites, like, you know, sharing the stories, sharing the legends. And now Natalie and I got another 43 years worth of work to do with our new grandchildren. So that's what it's all about. So thank you very much.
Congratulations, Gerald Glode. Next, I would like to welcome to the stage Elder Daniel J. Paul of Member 2 First Nation. Daniel Paul is a pipe carrier, knowledge keeper, and knowledge holder from the Member 2 First Nation. Daniel is a well-versed individual who loves to share Mi'kmaq ways with not only community members, but with the public at large. Daniel enjoys drum making workshops, teaching the youth about traditions behind the drum. He is also a very skilled waltz maker and crafter, and he is also an active member of the community supporting events like the annual moose harvest in the Highlands or Highland National Park, and serving as elder in residence on several campuses throughout Nova Scotia. And my note here about Danny is one of my first ever memories of really being taught about Nedugalimk actually came from Danny. I was fortunate, I suppose, as a young man to do a ceremony or help a ceremony just outside of Glooskap Cave. I forget what the place is called, the camp. It's tip of my tongue. That being said, you know, I remember there in the evening sitting around by the fire and Danny giving these stories about Nedugalimk and treaties. And one of the things that always stuck with me is that concept of the original treaty. And that's where our concept of Nedugalimk comes from, and sharing that story through our creation stories and how and why we think the way we think is Olnu. And that has, for me personally, had a profound impact on the way I view and think about treaties. Danny is an incredible educator, and I would like to congratulate him and welcome him to the stage.
I just want to say a few words. One, Andale, I need to correct you. Where'd he go? I want to back up Aaron. We are Olnu, not Mi'kmaq. We are Olnu. The word Micmac came from the Penobscot people. It's like our word for the Maliseet, the Wolastoqey people. They're calling themselves Maliseets. They're not Maliseets. They're Wolastoqey, like we're Olnu. We belong to Olnuegadik, the land of the people. And when, in 1985, I was with my uncle, the Grand Chief Donald Marshall, and this is where everything began with this Treaty Day celebration. And from then on, it just manifested to what it is today. And, you know, receiving this award tonight because of what we contribute, I guess, as people, collectively, not as individuals. We do it collectively. I learned a lot from Gerald. I learned a lot from Don. I learned a lot from Sister Dorothy. You know, these are the contributors to what I have in my head. And I just pass it on to other people. And, you know, when we talk about Nedugalimk, to me, it's a living concept on how we're supposed to conduct ourselves here on the Earth Mother. And that's so important to do because your captain talked about it earlier. Take what you need, not what you can. And there's a big difference in that. Because if we do go down that road of taking what we can continuously, what kind of legacy are we going to leave? I'm a great-grandfather now. Chisakama said, well, called me Gizigu earlier, and I said, well, not yet. No, he said, it's on paper tonight, you're official and elder. So I'm in great company, and, you know, looking around in this audience, it's, you know, it makes my heart warm. And to be held in such high esteem with these people is even a greater honor, especially when it comes from my uncle's name. Thank you.
And as they complete their photos, I'd like to ask our Youth Achievement Award recipients if you could be ready and stand by, Dee Dee Austin and Jada Paul. And I believe a group photo now. A big round of applause to our Grand Chief Donald Marshall Sr. Memorial Award recipients for 2022. So with that, I would like to now move on to the presentation of our Chief Newell Doucette Memorial Youth Achievement Award. And, you know, as it's just as important to honor and recognize our elders, it's also important to recognize the achievement of our youth. And so with that, in 1997, the province established the Chief Newell Doucette Memorial Youth Achievement Award. Chief Doucette achieved many noteworthy accomplishments throughout his lifetime, which included his advocacy for the closing of the Indian Residential School in Sebeganegati, the development of a comprehensive Mi'kmaq education framework, which saw Mi'kmaq have self-governance over education here in this province, and numerous economic development ventures throughout Mi'kma'ki. He was also a diplomat and will forever be an inspirational role model to the Mi'kmaq people. Chief Newell Doucette was the first chairperson of Mi'kmaq Ganabanoy, and was also one of the original founders for the Union of Nova Scotia Mi'kmaq, and was a strong advocate for Mi'kmaq education and the preservation of Mi'kmaq language and culture. This award is presented annually to individuals for their educational achievements and their contributions to their communities. Tonight, representing his family, Charles Doucette will join Minister McFarland to present these two awards. It is my pleasure to announce that the Chief Newell Doucette Memorial Youth Award for 2022 is awarded to Dee Austin and Jada Paul. So I would first like to begin by introducing Dee Austin of Fall River. Dee Austin is a 16-year-old Indigenous singer/songwriter whose infectious energy and authentic songwriting is bringing her recognition across the Maritimes and I would say nationally. She was nominated for Music Nova Scotia's Indigenous Artist of the Year in 2021 and 2022, along with nominations for New Artist Recording and SOCAN Songwriter of the Year for her debut album, or debut EP, Stepping Stones. Dee shares, "My goal is to touch the hearts of all my listeners through my realistic lyrics. I pour my heart into everything that I sing and play." And I should mention Dee recently released a single that I thought was really cool, where she actually burns a piano, and I was really jealous because I'm also a piano player and I've never gotten to burn a piano. So really, really cool. I've had the privilege of sharing the stage with Dee through my group, Alan Siddleman, the Thundermakers. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first award recipient, Dee Austin.
I guess this is my chance to say something. Aaron, you're such a great MC, by the way. I've never been to an event where Aaron has MC'd, so yeah, you're so good. To be completely honest, I didn't really think of coming here and writing up a whole speech and saying it for you guys. I honestly, well, one fact about me, I'm very emotional, so I'm going to try not to get emotional. Yeah, I've been nominated for 4 Music Nova Scotia awards within 1 year, and I'm very honored to say that this is my first award that I've actually won. I honestly, like I said, I don't really know how to feel other than the fact that I'm so appreciative, grateful, humbled, and yeah, huge thank you to all of you guys, and especially Cheryl for putting my name forward to get nominated, and yeah, Balaliuk.
Gisamo, photo time. Yeah. So our second Chief Nul Deset Memorial Award, Memorial Youth Achievement Award is presented to Jada Paul of Member 2 First Nation. Jada Paul is a 17-year-old from Member 2 First Nation. Jada continues to do commendable work within her community. Jada is dedicated in sharing and practicing her Mi'kmaq culture and heritage. She has been a part of the Mi'kmaq Rights Initiative Youth Advisory Council and Love Leave Out Violence Everywhere organization as a youth leader since 2018. In 2020, she was nominated and elected chief of the Member 2 Youth Chief and Council, and Jada is currently enrolled in NSCC's Baking and Pastry Arts program. I have to mention that Jada is a very, very talented cake decorator, and I believe she shares some of her cakes online. And as you got to hear earlier today, is a very talented singer and musician in her own right. And I know performs regularly also with her brother Armand. And I will say, you know, as someone who also gets to perform, you know, with their younger sister, my sister being Sarah, probably speaking, you know, from the perspective of Armin, it's an incredible honor to watch your younger siblings, you know, do many, many amazing things, just like Jada. And I'm sure Armin has the same pride in his sister as I do with mine. Without further ado, I would like to congratulate and introduce the amazing Jada Paul.
Okay. Oh, I guess I will. Hello, my name is Jada from Member 2. I would like to give credit to Deborah Guinness, and also I would really like to give credit to my family, Mary Ellen and Blair. And another big credit is to Danny Paul, where I've learned so much teachings from over the past few years. And he is also my godfather. So yeah, thank you. Well then.
Congratulations to Jada Paul and Dee Dee Austin. Our next presentation is the Sister Dorothy Moore Education Scholarship. In 2011, the province of Nova Scotia established the Sister Dorothy Moore Educational Scholarship, an annual scholarship fund to assist Mi'kmaq scholars studying full-time in a recognized teacher-certified education program. Sister Dorothy Moore is to be celebrated by all Nova Scotians. She has had many roles throughout her lifetime, including elder, educator, leader, human rights advocate, a Mi'kmaq language and cultural warrior, and a residential school survivor. She is the recipient of the Order of Nova Scotia and member of the Order of Canada. As some of you might know, and as was mentioned, October has been a very, very busy month this year for Sister Dorothy. She recently celebrated her birthday, which I believe is 89th birthday, and launched her book, A Journey of Love and Hope, and the release of her new film about her life, Sister Dorothy Moore, A Life of Courage, Determination, and Love. And one of the thoughts and reflections I've had is that the inspiration I get from Sister Dorothy is that, you know, in the many times I've heard her speak, often speaks with immense love and compassion, and that is evident throughout all of her work, and it's so special and an honor that she's able to join us today. We are pleased to have Sister Dorothy Moore with us today and to present the awards with Minister McFarland. So, without further ado, I would like to announce the 3 inspiring education students who will be receiving the Sister Dorothy Moore Educational Scholarship, and that is George Tex Marshall, Candace Sillaboy, and Tara Mellon. I'd like to welcome you guys to the side of the stage, and I will introduce you all one by one. First, I would like to welcome George Tex Marshall of Eskizoni First Nation, also one of my neighbors and lives down the road from me. George Tex Marshall of Eskizoni First Nation is a recent graduate from the Masters of Education program at St. FX. George is well known throughout Mi'kmaq as a coach, volunteer, organizer, and leader. It is also touching to mention that Tex's first teacher was actually Sister Dorothy when he attended Eskizoni Elementary School as a younger individual. I will say that, you know, Tex's work not only in education but in sports has been incredibly monumental, especially as we announce in the bringing of not only the National Aboriginal Hockey Championships to Atlantic Canada, but also the North American Indigenous Games. Tex's work has been integral for that dream to be realized, and it is my honor to introduce this award recipient, George Tex Marshall.
Well, all in Aaron, she'll be one to get you on tape. Now, she had Lois to this. Can I do it? And days it went in with me. You want with Lois not like she. Well, all you all, the all Gami did the Lamis and them. But we sit Hamo, the Daz was Halam Santas in our ward. Kadu is midway, Gina Madnawega, Habijazi Yannick. What's a nutre, Nige, Gidna Mayanek. So, what I'm just saying is, it was very difficult in the master's program at St. FX. It was a long 25 months. I'd like to thank first and foremost Mi'kmaq Amadnoy and Executive Director Blair Gould and the Board of Directors for allowing me the opportunity to go back to school and continue my education. It's very important. It was very difficult working full-time and going to school in a master's program. As a matter of fact, it took 25 months to complete the program, and I really need to thank my wife, Janine, personally, because over that 25 months, I quit about 25 times. But she kept telling me, you're going back, you're not quitting. And I had to listen to her because I listen to everything she tells me to do. So, one thing that's not mentioned, and I want to say this because I feel it's significant. I have 2 diagnosed learning disabilities, dyslexia memory and dyslexia retention. So that made it even harder for me in the program. I had to work 10 times harder as all the other students, but I'm not afraid of hard work. It was very difficult, and I would say with certainty that that ends my educational career, the master. So, no, I am not going on to a PhD. No, thank you. It was a great experience. I love to learn, and once again, I want to thank my wife and family for their support. Without them, it would not be possible. Pasiki Walalio.
I would now like to introduce our next award recipient, Candace Syllaboy of Wegorma First Nation. Candace Syllaboy of Wegorma First Nation is enrolled in the Masters of Education program, Inclusive Education Administration at St. FX University. Candace was recently chosen as a recipient for the 2022 Education Week Awards for her work as a full-time teacher at Strait Regional Education Center as a Mi'kmaq language and art teacher. And one of the things in Candace's work I would like to mention is her work with the grassroots grandmothers. And the importance of always making sure to remember and recognize those individuals. And just, I believe this past weekend, they had their water walk in Wegorma. And, you know, always, you know, in not only education, but in our advocacy that we do, to remember the work of those grandmothers and to remember and recognize the contributions of people that support our grandmothers like Candace. So without further ado, I would like everyone to give a big round of applause to Candace Syllaboy.
So you wouldn't think I was a teacher. I didn't really want to talk. I just want to thank everybody, my wife and my daughter, for standing next to me through this whole walk of life. Our life is education. I would like to acknowledge Sister Dorothy Moore. If it wasn't for her, this award wouldn't be. And I would just like to acknowledge all my students. I learn from them, I think, more than they learn from me. And our grassroots grandmothers and our ceremonies, and that connection to Mother Earth and to the water, and all the teachings that we get from our elders and our children. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be standing here. So thank you.
Next, I would like to welcome to the stage our next award recipient, Tara Mellon of Budlodek First Nation. Tara Mellon of Budlodek First Nation is enrolled in the Bachelor of Education program at Cape Breton University, and I also believe a graduate of also my alma mater, Dalhousie University, in Bachelor of Science, I believe, yeah. Tara is very proud of her accomplishments in education and is working towards helping Mi'kmaq and Indigenous students in post-secondary who struggle with mental health. Very important work. I should mention that, you know, we have a night of very talented artists, and Tara also in her own right is a very talented beater, and I do highly recommend you go check out her stuff. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our next award recipient, Tara Mellon.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say thank you. I go to St. FX now. And I just wanted to say that I'm excited to become a teacher and help Mi'kmaq students with mental health, because mental health is really, really important. And I really am passionate about helping. So thank you.
I believe one group photo. Congratulations again to our Sister Dorothy Moore Educational Scholarship recipients. Oh, well, yeah. And now I would like to move to our last set of awards for the evening and nearing the end of our day, and that is the presentation of the Grand Chief Donald Marshall Senior Memorial Scholarship. This year's recipients, we recognize 3 individuals who have brought honor to their communities, and we recognize much of their great work in post-secondary education. This year's recipients are Savannah Francis, Krista Hasty, and Caitlin Duff. To present these awards, I'd like to invite once again Jocelyn Marshall, granddaughter of the late Grand Chief Donald Marshall Sr., and I would also like to welcome to the stage Janine Marshall to present this award on behalf of Mi'kmaq Ginamatnoy. So I am told that 2 of our recipients are not here today, so I will just briefly speak about them, and then we will move on to our individual who is here today. The first individual not able to make it today is Savannah Francis of Pictou Landing First Nation. Savannah Francis of Pictou Landing First Nation is in the first year of the Bachelor of Science in Environmental Studies at Acadia University. Savannah sees her program as ideal as it lies at the intersection of science, sustainability, community, and culture. The other individual not able to make it here today is Krista Hasty of my community, Eskizoni First Nation. Krista Marie Hasty of Eskizoni First Nation is enrolled in the Bachelor of Science in Nursing program at Cape Breton University. Krista's goal is to graduate from the nursing program in 2025 and become a pediatric nurse. And now, without further ado, I would like to welcome to the stage Caitlin Duff of Pictou Landing First Nation. Caitlin Duff of Pictou Landing First Nation is in her final year of the undergraduate degree in psychology at St. Avex University. When Caitlin graduates in 2023, she will continue to advocate for rights of Mi'kmaq, especially in the legal field. Without further ado, I would like to congratulate Caitlin Duff.
First off, I'd like to say Leo to everybody. The last couple of months, everybody's been hearing about me saying like, oh, we're going to announce the winners. And I was really excited and ran around the university when I found out that I won. So I would like to say thank you. This is such an honorable award that means so much to me. Make it short and sweet. Leo, thank you.
Congratulations, Caitlin Duff. And now that concludes our presentation of our awards. And one more time, please give it up for all of our award recipients this evening. So I know I speak for everyone here tonight when I say that this year's Treaty Day Award and scholarship recipients are an inspiration to us all. Your families, friends, and our communities are very proud of you and your achievements. Great job to all of our award recipients, and congrats or job well done. Now, in closing, I would like to say that this concludes this year's Treaty Day celebrations. Again, congratulating all of the recipients. The importance to remember that we are all treaty people, and I would like to thank you all for joining us. I was told, or I have in the notes, I believe, a closing prayer, but I'm not sure who we have to give that closing prayer. I know what we'll do. I believe this is on the fly. So one thing, every year when we celebrate Treaty Day, one of the things that we didn't get to do this year was in the raising of the Mi'kmaq Grand Council flag, there's actually a song that's associated with that flag raising. And every year, I'm always privileged and honored to hear one of my mentors, Arlene Stevens, who sings that regularly down at Province House. And so to conclude our events, I know we didn't necessarily honor that flag. And so in concluding the night, I would like to ask everyone if you could please stand, and I will sing and recite the national anthem of the Mi'kmaq Grand Council. Nepsadune Trelimpta Wegan, Da Westa Wook Neado Cluchewe, Nenui Ded Manage Keligan Dan Garamik Setanewe, Well into the Nech Getaway you are, Kisukik Dog Weji Laluek. Gulamanej, Allah sud maran wolodik dug helalueg. Mawixidid manesh dante sidis, Gimitki nach gegenwe on the week. Ginquigi nach deli weligwe. Sadotidis, sabe wudigis adamidis, nigeshwaso eskibokig, nigeshwaso eskibokig, nepsadunej welimpta wegan, da westa wugne adokluchewe, nenuided manej geligan dan garamig, setan away, well into the netch, get away you are on, Gisel kick dog, wedgie will lalueg, Gulamanej, Allah stood maran wallo dick dug, elalueg. And that is the national anthem of the Mi'kmaq Grand Council. Well, Dasi Dantil Bijidayo, well, Dasi Dantil Jiksudio, thank you all for the honor of being your MC this evening. William Madano Dantle Voltio, I wish you safe travels wherever your homes are. Thank you all for being here to our Treaty Day celebrations, and we will see you next year. Walalio.